Good morning, Morgan, and thanks for having me on this morning.
I want to get into the inflation piece of the puzzle that we just teed you up with. But first, given the fact that we have seen financials moving higher on this news today, and we do have the largest U.S. banks basically boosting their capital return plans and sending those stocks higher. I mean, TD, one of the biggest banks in the U.S., how does this position you as we come out of these tests and out of this pandemic?
Well, I tell you, from a TD perspective, I really think for the industry, it's just a further evidence that the banking industry really handled this downturn remarkably well. As you saw from most of the large banks throughout the country, capital levels remained very, very high, weathered the issue from a credit perspective, and certainly dealt with all of the operational issues that many of us had to face from a work from home and still take care of our customers. I would just comment that as the economy does reopen and has been reopening for the last several months, we're certainly seeing a lot of activity really across TD, across various segments and industries from an activity standpoint. So I think this bodes very, very well for the coming quarters.
When you talk about that activity, I mean, from a consumer standpoint and also from a business standpoint, are you seeing a shift from goods to services?
Yeah, well, I think that's a really good call out. And if you just look at the spending numbers in May, and you saw a little bit more of a tepid month around the consumer, it was really a shift. Now, some of the shift just happens to be the reopening trade that you saw with restaurants really reopening really across the country in full steam. And you're seeing customer choices return to some of those activities. But I'd also say some of the main numbers you saw and some of the slowdown in some other segments was a result of really a shortage of supplies, raw materials, and just getting inventory back on shelves in certain businesses. But I think for the most part, you just commented on the consumer confidence index, which was very strong. And I do think you're seeing a very strong consumer with a lot of balances in their accounts and checking accounts and a lot of pent-up demand. And I think you're going to see quite strong results over the coming quarters.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.